It is 1:44. Oh, I'm just going to tell you the date this way. 1:44, almost 45, January 11th, 2011. Okay? I'm sitting here having my coffee, listening to this cat go. And having a conversation in my head with Gaia. And I didn't even notice I was having a conversation with her. I thought I was just like listening to mind chatter. And we were talking about death and like what it really is. And I was having the conversation I was having with her was so weird, honestly. It was like she kept saying, "You do it every night. What's the big deal?" And then, like, as she was saying that, I was seeing these stories play out. And I've noticed, like, I remember how many times I've been near death and on the other side too, and back. In this lifetime, like, not another lifetime. Look, now she's down there doing the chomp chomp. So, do you know what it feels like to cross over? Quote unquote crossover. Let's say your emotions are totally okay and you're not afraid, you're not sad, you're not worried, you're not any of those things. And you're simply experiencing, that experience neutrally, like a scientist. Do you know what it feels like? It feels like that moment right before you fall asleep. You know when you have those dreams where you're falling and you jump awake, but you didn't even realize you were dreaming? That's what this reality is. This, what you're experiencing right now, is the part of the dream before you fall. But instead of falling and that feeling like your stomach's rising up and you're about to, fall, instead of that, it feels like you're falling asleep. And in that moment, you have every opportunity to fill your body with a specific emotion, preferably love, faith, trust, hope, kindness, etc., etc. And do you know what happens right after you feel like you're about to fall asleep? You wake up, but you don't wake up where you fell asleep. So I'm telling you this from personal experience. You shift realities. So in one reality, like if I'm sitting here and like, metaphoric scenario, the angel of death shows up and it's like, all right, it's time to go. Well, what would happen is I'd probably blink, feel like I'm falling asleep. Well, not probably, actually. I'd blink and be like, okay. And then it would feel like I'm falling asleep. And then when my eyes would reopen again, that blanket might be blue. But everything else would be the same. Do you want to know why? Because your consciousness is creating the reality you're experiencing. And if your consciousness has issues to deal with in a certain construct of reality, then you're going to come back to deal with those issues in a version of reality where you don't have the previous issues, but you have the, you know, the remaining ones. That's all it is. You're still you. I have been able to speak to the quote-unquote deceased my entire life without really knowing it. It used to mess with me a lot when I see quote-unquote ghosts. And, you know, I see people in the house when they weren't there. I see shadows and all of these strange things. Sorry, I lit a bunch of frankincense. I don't know if you can tell how smoky it is in this apartment. It's not as scary as you think it is. The only scary part is what you let yourself feel. I mean, really, you can be faced with the greatest terror in the world, or even incomprehensible to the world, and you don't have to be afraid. What I'm here to tell you, really, is the actual process of dying feels like you're falling asleep and then you wake up in the same place, and the place you were in before feels like a fuzzy dream. But you're still you, the people in your life are still them. They're just a little different. So the only grief, really, in passing on is the acceptance of how the people you knew aren't the same anymore. Because they're reflecting back at you situations and blah, blah, blah that your consciousness needs to evolve with. That's why every spiritual person tells you to be kind to others. It's not because of the others. I mean, it benefits them. But at the end of it all, which is the beginning of it all again, what matters is the memories you take with you. And one of the times, somebody I really cared about, years and years and years ago, when I had a near death and I came back, that person, me and that person were friends. But when I came back, I woke up the next day, I wasn't even in the same country. I wasn't even in the same place, man. But I was with the same family, with the same storyline, and the same everything. It was just like a glitch in location. Me and that person connected almost 20 years later. No, almost 31 years later. Me and her found each other again on Facebook. Like old childhood friends. The time before that, when it happened, it was another glitch. Shortly after it happened, there were plans to move from there, but those plans never happened. I jumped from that place where the plans were happening to move into a place where they weren't happening, and then it jumped again towards completely being in the other place already. It was like timeline hopping every time a near-death experience happened. And they happened a lot. So, really, don't be afraid. And honestly, it's a choice. I mean, it's a choice with you and God, but it's a choice. As long as you're here and you're existing, you have a choice to continue to live. No matter what your situation is, no matter what's going on, you make that choice within you that you want to live, and you will. And if you're done, you're done. It's really that easy. I mean, you can live for 1,000 years if you take care of your body. You can live longer than that. You just have to keep your body in motion, because everything in the universe moves. So if you keep your molecules and atoms moving, and you keep regenerating your cells, which happens every 24 hours, there's no reason for it to stop, other than choice. Decisions that lead to choices, that lead to more decisions, that lead to letting it go and starting over. It's like a computer being, turned on for too long. Eventually you're going to have to restart it to replenish the memory or whatever in it. And that whole reincarnation system, the Matrix trap, the moon, Saturn thing, like that was a long time ago, you guys. That was a long time ago. That's not anything that has to do with the recent, even 100 years. That storyline happened thousands of years ago. Thousands in human terms. The moon hasn't been what anybody thinks it's been for a long time. And those of you that remote view know exactly what I mean. So, yeah, you're not stuck here. You're not, being trapped in the human world. You're not, the underworld isn't a prison. You're not stuck in the Matrix. All of those were things that happened a long time ago. And what you're experiencing now as your current three-dimensional life experience, breath by breath, is a soul rehabilitation experience. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of like pulling a soul out from hell and having it stay in a recovery unit until it's cleansed of trauma. That's what all these souls here are doing. And that's why other souls come into this experience to help. And they've all said the same thing. You're fine. You're God's. Get the nastiness out of you. And remember what you are, which is part of the light. Right? They've all said that. They all say you're God. They all say you're eternally loved and you're safe and you're already home. Every single one for over 2,000 years has said the same thing. Yet people still think there's like archons influencing the world to control it and blah blah blah. But they're not. Everyone's playing a role. Like having people with PTSD experience the trauma again and again and again until the trauma has no reaction anymore. It's alchemy. Everything you're afraid of already happened a long time ago. Nibiru already happened, the invasions already happened, the cullings already happened, all of it's already happened. In some version of reality, it's already happened. In this current version of reality you're in, it is guaranteed that it's already happened. And you didn't experience the trauma firsthand. You have the ingrained damage from it in your neural network. It's been echoing as trauma, as experiences that happen in your real world that kind of echo that pain. Look at your own personal life when you're sitting alone somewhere. What trauma does it remind you of that you've seen in a movie somewhere? That your reality is replaying for you so that you can remember what you went through, so that you can make peace. The movies you're watching, they could be viewed as mind control, or they can be, viewed as programming, or they can be used as medicine. You're watching something happening outside of you, you're having emotional responses to it, you gain the moral of the story, and you close that chapter. But you guys have been so afraid and paranoid that you've come up with all these different reasons for every symbol in every movie that it's there to get you. At some point it was. But the only person that can stop that is you. So stop it. Just stop with the theories and the accusations and the finger pointing towards any society, towards any person, towards any devil or demon. Just stop it all. Accept the conscious reality that you already know is real inside you, that all of this already happened. What you're experiencing is a fucking ghost of the past, testing to see if your wounds still hurt. Like going to a dentist and they scrape your fucking teeth. Like, why are you scraping my teeth? Oh, we're trying to find a, painful spot or something. Or to test the integrity of the teeth. Isn't there another way? Well, probably eventually, yeah, there will be. But for now, this is how your alchemical process as a human being to cleanse the waters of your soul are cleansed. Because God can flush them out of you easy peasy, right? But then you probably run and go do it again. So it's like having toxoplasma gondii in the brain. Almost every single human being has it, and what this parasite does is lead you right towards your death. Now, why would something like that even exist? Like, how horrible is that? But it exists, and it's everywhere. People making stupid decisions all the time because of a stupid thing in their brain. A literal parasite. Now, why would that be allowed to exist? So that your brain can realize it's doing something stupid. Right? So stop looking at things as if you're the victim in your lives. And look at them as if you're being cleansed of any reason for you to become petty. Think about it. Even to put the fear of death in you is petty, isn't it? Everybody goes through it. It's like everybody taking a shit or eating something or like sleeping or burping or like farting or growing nails or growing hair. Everybody fucking does it. Every living being does it. Every living being. Everything. Every fucking thing. Even material things die. Curtains fucking die. Everything. It's because of entropy. That's all it is. Entropy. Think about it. Think about it with science. Think about it like a geneticist. If something decays and dies, what is the cause? Entropy. It's not a battle against life and death, you guys. You are life and death already. You go to sleep, you die, you have a dream in the other realities and universes, and you come back to this world, your body breathes, and you go, and you get up and you stretch and you push all that energy through your body, and then you go and wash your vessel, and then you go and defecate, and you go brush your teeth, and you wash and clean and do all this stuff, and then you go and eat, and then you go and meditate, and you do some yoga, and you eat, lunch and breakfast and dinner and blah, blah, blah. Doesn't make you freaking have to have a funeral. I mean, have you guys ever tried waiting a couple of days for somebody that's dead to come back? The Egyptians used to. Did you forget that? Why do you think they had all these temples and tombs? They would put people in there that passed away, and after a few days they would just waltz right on out. It's just a long sleep. Why do you think the Buddhist monks put themselves in a freaking lotus position inside statues? Because eventually they would come back and break it or be broken out of it and move forward. But we find them and we're like, oh look, it's a statue with a skeleton. Let's fucking analyze it. No, bitch, leave it alone. The monk is gonna come back, take a deep breath and drink a glass of water and pop right up. That's how it works. You're not dying. You're just moving through dimensions in a very clumsy way. You don't have to do it by dying. You don't have to do it with near death. You don't have to do it with violence. You don't have to do it with sadness or grief or sorrow. You don't have to miss people that have gone. Call their name. Call their name with intent. And then sit there and close your eyes and hold your hands out. Call the name of somebody in your family that has passed away, that you really want to see because of the vibration of love. Not anything else, but love, like seeing somebody living and you're running to hug them. Call someone who's passed on 3 times with that vibration. Hold your hand out and you will feel their finger in your hand to let you know that they're there. Try it for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Prove me wrong. Now, I want you to remember something on this that you've always watched on this channel and you've heard me say. There's literally nothing to be afraid of other than your own capacity to be petty to yourself and to others, right? Be kind, be humble. Stop being afraid and oversimplify everything. So, how do you oversimplify death? Entropy. How do you reverse death? You move the body. When someone has cardiac arrest, what do? They shock the body with electricity. Why do they do that? Because the electricity moves the molecules and the atoms and shocks them into movement. And then the soul jumps back into the body. That's all it is. The choice to leave the body is because of choices that were made before that have caused the body to become ill. So when the soul is faced with a decision to stay in an ill body or to move, it usually chooses to move. Because it knows when it opens its eyes again, it'll be in a different body with different issues that it can deal with better. Or in a different way. Sometimes two souls jump into the same body. Sometimes one soul splits into, 47 bodies. Sometimes, like, the same soul comes to join with itself, but in two different bodies. But it's the same soul. So it's like self-love. Sometimes the friggin' soul just doesn't come back and it leaves the earth realm and it goes to completely other realms and has lives as like an elemental being or like as a dragon somewhere else. It goes wherever the fuck it wants, but it's still you. It's still you. That feeling of those people that you remember and the feeling of who you are is what is remembered. And when you want to communicate with somebody that you perceive as passed on, you pull up that feeling and you communicate with them. So rest yourself and your mind. It's a choice. And that choice cannot be taken away from you. I don't care if you're just a head in a jar. It's still a choice. So while you still have all your faculties and your limbs and your friggin', capacity to whatever, make the best of what you have right now. I mean, really. Like, would you rather be sitting in a room worrying about something that's going to happen anyway? Or are you going to enjoy what you have now, and then when it happens, you're like, all right, let's go see what's over there. I mean, really, the only thing that I, to this point, am still kind of like, I don't want to feel that. It's feeling the feeling of missing someone. I really don't like that feeling. So personally, when I think about when my time would come, that's really the only feeling that bothers me. I would miss people in the way they are. But at the same time, I barely interact with anybody because I've been freaking stuck in this soul rehab, healing myself from everything I've been through. So in a way, I'm already a ghost. And I'm telling you, from the in-between and the other side and this side, there's literally nothing to be afraid of. Just live your life as a good person and not what others think is good. The thing that you know. Oh my God. Hold on, I need a drink of water. Be the kind of good person that you would be proud of having been. Do those things that really remind you that you're a good person. That the world can show you that it's okay to throw monkeys into space. And that's their idea of good. But you'd rather, knit sweaters for a monkey. I don't know. Instead of shooting them out in space. Like, whatever your idea of good is, for you, that doesn't harm anybody else. And by the way, you're entitled to have a good fucking life. You're entitled to feel angry about the lack of money or the lack of whatever. You're entitled to fucking stomp your feet and yell at God and say, I want what's mine. You're entitled to this stuff. Because God isn't raising a little weak baby bitch, right? You're the child of God, right? Quit being a little bitch. It's that easy. It's just between you and God, not between you and anybody else. It's between you, God, and this fucking planet your tippy toes touch. And then you can break that down into the elements that you exist within, and with, and because of. And then other humans and other living beings, you start noticing that they become a little irrelevant because your connection to God is more important. Once you have that connection, you'll see that all of them, the only thing they need is their connection. Not card readings, not energy healing, not blah, blah, blah. That's all holding space so that they can remember that they're the child of God. Gods. So, yeah, I'm gonna go because it's gonna take a while to upload. And I gotta check on those cinnamon apples. I mixed sugar and cinnamon and I dipped apple slices in them and I'm dehydrating them. I'm gonna make a really tasty pie later, probably. And I gotta go get bacon and some eggs, maybe some bagels. I got stuff to do today. So I hope you had fun with this conversation I was having with her. Because sorry, I'm popping my lips at her so she slows down with her eating. She puked again last night under my bed. Must nom the kibble super fast. Chomp, chomp, chomp. You think she's afraid of dying? Nope. She battles a 6-foot giant human every day. She demands pets and cuddles, but only on her terms. She is independent and strong, and she doesn't give a fuck. See? Look what she did to my shoe. She chomped the fucking side of it. I love you. Quit being a little bitch. You're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be better than fine, honestly. I mean, it's been fine your entire life other than what you've seen on the news, right? Outside of TV, your life has been perfectly normal. Kind of boring at times. So why are you like making shit up for yourself to be afraid of? Because you're bored? Is your fear of dying really just a fear of boredom? That you're going to be going somewhere else? That you're actually going to have to take responsibility for your life? Is that why people made up heaven and hell? Because you just don't want to do what you're here to do now, so you want to like push it and procrastinate it until later, so that later you can do it. And then you're like, oh no, when I die, then I'm going to have to really do it. And like own up to all the stuff that I didn't do. So why don't you just do it now? Instead of leaving it for like every other future lifetime, so you keep having to redo the same shit over and over, and then you say that it's a matrix recycling program. Nah, bitch. It's your inability to deal with your shit. It's not a matrix recycling program. It's like seeing repeating numbers over and over. It's like not it's not a different message every fucking time. If you're seeing the numbers like 1111 over and over, you're supposed to comprehend what 1111 means fully. Then it changes to something else. But if you keep seeing it over and over and you're like, oh, it means 1111, twin flame union, like, consider yourself cosmically bitch slapped. Because that's not what it means at all. You've been given a message, and like the repeating numbers are to get the message to you until you get it. That's why it repeats, because you didn't get it. It's like someone asking you what's 2 plus 2, and you're like, oh no, it's 22. It adds up to like this, and then it's the numerology of this, and then like, no. You take 2 and you add 2, what do you get? And then you see the number 22 and you're like, oh, 22, it's a master builder number, and you get that. It's like, no. You have 2 and then you add 2 to it. What do you get? You have life, you add entropy to it. What do you get? You had entropy and then the lack of life. What do you get? The choice to have life. So you go from life to entropy to life. What's the problem? Just avoid going to entropy.